Alrighty then. Welcome back to another one of my streams. Today we find ourselves in Norway. Currently positioned at, just hold on, let me see if I can pronounce this properly. Let's see, I should probably get the charts up and ready for you guys. Let's call that up quickly. Torp, T-O-R-P, or Sandefjord in Norway. Relatively small airport, south, to the south of the country. Sorry, let me just get this chart set up for you quickly. Clearly, I can't do more than one thing at a time. Let's see, flights. There it is. Let's just set it up for VFR for you guys. There we go. And let's call it up for you. Navigraph, and there you go. Excuse me. Forever struggling with these sinuses of mine. Right, so this is the route that we'll be flying today, or at least attempting to. As mentioned in the description, the weather might not play along with us today. Hopefully it will turn out a lot more weather friendly than the previous stream did in the UK. Looks like it might, to be honest, but I think we've got some relatively low-lying clouds off to the northwest, which incidentally is the direction that we plan on flying in. So we're going to leave the control zone via this WBSIM VRP. We're going to be departing over runway 18. So we'll just roughly fly something like this. I'm not entirely sure what these points are or what they look like. What I might end up doing is probably be better for us just to fly the traffic pattern and to leave the traffic pattern here just before we turn onto the base for runway 18. That should put us in relatively good position to, although that says approaching point. Oh, in fairness, these arrows are pointing outside, so I think that's where you would join the pattern, respectively. So we're going to leave the pattern just there on the corner and make our way out northwest towards this point. Not entirely sure what it is, if it's a town or some sort of a landmark, but either way, we'll do our best to aim for something along this point. Once free of the control zone, we will continue further northwest to this airport known as Notodden. This is a beautiful, picturesque airport right next to a lake and some really tall terrain, as you can see. I don't know what's triggering here around me. Is my phone listening in on me again? Right, anyways, enough stalling. Let's get this party started. Get that chart away for you guys. Great. So we're flying the Cessna 172 by WBSIM. That is a modification made to the default Cessna 172 that comes with Flight Simulator 2020. And that they've modeled, I would say quite fully, the electronic systems as well as a damage or wear and tear system relating to the engines. I think you can have random failures. There is state saving options, so you're able to pick the aircraft up the way you left it with whatever damage you may have caused prior to your next flight. And in so doing, you know, you're kind of motivated to, or incentivized to, fly properly. Do what you can to prolong the life of your aircraft. Just want to reduce this effect that it has here. Is it wind ambience? Yeah, no, that's it. Okay, cool. All right, so as always, we're going to make sure that the aircraft is secure. So we've done the pre-flight already, so you can actually place the chocks as well as the remove before flight items, and even the tie downs. Not in the way that you can in the Comanche, unfortunately, but through a menu here on your ADF radio, you're able to access those various components. Anyways, it's not a review. Let's get going. So, parking brake is set. All of our switches are in the off position. We don't have any circuit breakers that have come out. I don't think there are any this side. Nope. They all look into me. And we're going to make sure that the engine is going to be ready for its prime. Okie dokie. We've mapped the incorrect hardware here, of course. So just give me a few seconds. You would think I'd get better at this over time. So this one will be the fixed pitch propeller option. All right, there you go. Let's see if we got the correct ones mapped. Yes, we do. Okay, so mixture can go fully rich here. Want to always make sure that we've selected the fuel tanks and we've opened up the fuel valves. Crack the throttle slightly. I think about a quarter. And then you're going to run the fuel pump for a few seconds. And you want to see that the fuel flow needle does jump a little there. It would help to turn the battery power on. Okay, before we do that, make sure that the flaps obviously correlate with the flaps outside, the flap lever that is, and then we can go ahead and turn it on. So that goes on. Beacon goes on. Test our little flashy lights there. And now we can run the fuel pump. You can see there is a response to the fuel flow needle. And we're going to basically start her up. Just for the record, the sounds of the aircraft are also payware. I think it's Boris Audio Works or Boris Audio Studio or something like that. I think you can get it. I got it through the Orbex store. I highly recommend it if anyone out there is like me, really appreciates a good sound set. This is an excellent purchase for anyone that loves to spend a lot of time in a Cessna. Anywho, let's get her going. To make sure the propeller area is clear.
Clear prop.
Alright, immediately we want to check the oil pressure, and it's in the green. We're idling around 1,000. And we can lean out the mixture a little bit just so that we don't foul the magnetos. I'm going to turn on the alternator, and we want to see that the amp meters jumps to above 0 there. And the avionics master switches can come on. Turn on our various radios here. So just to quickly show you or demonstrate, so clicking on the NDB or the ADF radio will give you the option to use the realism mode or not, which then allows you to enjoy the damage model that they have simulated with this aircraft. The next page will take you to the static items menu where you can toggle wheel chocks, the pitot cover, the tie downs, and the cowl plugs. State saving on off, the trim tab position, and even the LCD color, which we're going to leave in its default state. I'm going to set the local airfield elevation here, which incidentally gives us a QNH of 1016, which will confirm with the autopilot. I think 7,000 is still a valid VFR squawk up here, I'm not sure. Let's go to our nondescript frequency here and just check our radios. Check, check.
Check, check.
As of course we're flying online. Okay. 1215. We'll aim for 2,500 feet initially, and the VOR that we're going to just be using for situational awareness purposes is the TOR VOR. Frequency is 11385. The outbound course, so once we've flown to or left the CTR, I'm going to follow a course that's basically just a direct line from that VOR to our destination. I have just deleted that from our flight plan here in the background quickly. Let's go. I feel like these airfields are used relatively frequently on the network, so I'm going to try our best to broadcast on the radio here. The course that I was mentioning earlier is 303. Just calibrate the directional gyro and pop in 303 here on our navigation 1 radial here. 30. We could put 305 and somewhere around there. Okay. I actually just wanted to update this thing. It's just going to be us or me today, and we're going to have about 30 kgs of baggage. We'll leave the fuel at about halfway. So we're just going to test out flight controls, elevators, ailerons, and rudder. Great. Controls are free and correct. Brake to be released. Taxi lights can come on, and off we go. Why does she want to turn left? All right, runway 18. This way. Is there any way we can get to the full length? If we go via Charlie here, I think. Do I have the right chart? Oh, it's Whiskey 3. Looks like there are 2 Whiskey 3s. Alright, and it's, oh, I actually do see someone coming, I think. So we're just going to stop here. It's going to be a problem for him. Okay, let's say traffic, Cessna Lima November Mike Oscar Victor, taxi holding short runway 18 via Whiskey 3, Charlie Bravo and Alpha, Torp traffic.
Torp traffic runner 21 Golf short final runway 18 will vacate at the airport.
Torp traffic, Cessna Mike Oscar Victor, we copy the traffic, will hold short runway 18. Alright, so there he comes. That's why it's always a good idea to check left and right, just like I said. I hope you guys can hear the air traffic control, because that wasn't happening last time on the last stream. Nice landing. Parking brake on, also just turn the taxi lights off so we don't blind him, but it is the middle of the day, so it shouldn't be a problem. Alright, so there you go. Perfect demonstration as to why you need to Torp traffic, Cessna Lima November Mike Oscar Victor, continue taxi runway 18 via Whiskey 3. We'll backtrack runway 18 to vacate at Bravo, then continue taxi Torp traffic. Okay, so we're gonna backtrack. So strobes on.
So traffic runner 21 Golf runway vacated.
Alright, so there was a perfect example as to why it is necessary for you to broadcast your intentions on the radio, even though you might think you're the only one at the airport. So I don't see any lights, so again, or maybe not again, but this was just a really good demonstration overall, you know. So before crossing the runway, I checked left and right. I was announcing my intentions. Because I checked, I actually saw the landing lights of the arriving aircraft. So good on the arriving aircraft to have its landing lights on despite it being day. It just gives you a lot more makes you a lot more visible to people on the ground. So yeah, just really good demonstration. And because he knew where I was holding short, because I mentioned it, because I don't normally mention taxiways unless I know there's someone operating at the airport. He specifically mentioned that he was going to vacate at the end of the runway, giving me the peace of mind that I wouldn't have to worry about being in his way. Right, so we're off the runway. Strobes, landing lights off, taxi lights stay on. And then Torp traffic says that Lima November Mike Oscar Victor, clear runway 18, continuing taxi via Alpha, Torp traffic. Alright, so I may not have been perfectly clear to someone that may have just tuned into the frequency, but the key point there being I'm clear of the runway, so anyone who wants to use it right now knows that they are able to do so. So I'm using my charts to get around here. Let's bring them up for you again. So, we were here. I was a little confused initially because this looked like Whiskey 3. And that says it's also Whiskey 3. It's two Whiskey 3s. That's why I said Whiskey 3 Charlie. And I didn't notice that. I think this Whiskey 3 is meant for this taxiway. So it should have been Whiskey 2 Charlie. That's why I changed my taxi routing the second time I announced it. Because I was at Whiskey 3. I don't have access to Charlie. instead of taxiing down and left, I decided just to go up and right. There's apparently a club apron up ahead. I'm going to look for a run-up area there somewhere so we can do our engine run-ups. And take it from there. Let's see. Yeah, so I think we'll run up over here. So, taxi light off. Let's position the aircraft here. One thing I will say isn't terribly accurate, I feel, is just how sharp this thing can turn. I have done some flying in a Cessna 172, and the taxiing or directional control on the ground by the rudder pedals are quite spongy, and you do have to use the brakes to get you around particularly sharp corners. Not so in this aircraft or this version of the aircraft, but not very much an issue for me. Just thought I'd mention it though. Right, let's get the run up going here. So mixture fully rich. We're going to go ahead and put the fuel pump on, hold the brakes. I'm going to go up to about 1,700 RPM. I'm going to check the right magneto. We don't want to drop more than 125. Back to both. It's under 100, that's good. Over to the left one. Also just over 50. Go back to the right just to check that there isn't more than a 50 RPM difference between the two, and it's less than 50, so it's good. Go back to both. I'm going to go ahead and cut the fuel pump here, turn it off, and make sure that we still have positive fuel flow. And before we bring the power all the way back, we're going to just check our instruments here. Sorry if I'm shouting. The sound is very loud on my headset. Might have to bring it down a bit. So we have oil temperature coming into the green, pressure is in the green, vacuum is green, amp meter is still showing positive reading, and we've got enough fuel for the journey. So now we're going to bring the power back to idle and make sure that the engine doesn't stall. Engine doesn't stall out. I'm happy. I consider that a pass. Runway is long enough that we do not need to use flaps, so we're just going to set the trim here and get ready to go. So we're going to be departing out to the northwest. So right-hand turnout. Right. I don't know if can't remember if we put the fuel pump on in real life or not. I'm going to do it now. So fuel pump come on. Strobe, landing light, taxi light can stay off, and the transponder can come on to alt. Because the airport is currently VFR operations, we don't have to announce ourselves yet onto the runway because the holding point for VFR conditions is up ahead. Right. Can never remember the call sign. Torp traffic, Cessna Lima November Mike Oscar Victor, lining up departing runway 18, right-hand turnout to the northwest, remaining at or below 2,500 initially, Torp traffic. Alright, so apparently you don't need to follow the yellow line when you are turning onto the runway. Yellow lines are exclusively meant for aircraft that are turning off the runway, but we want to use as much of the runway as we possibly can, so we're going to taxi to the very start of this runway. Alright, so final checks here. Mixture's fully rich. The aircraft's configured. Lights are as they should be. Let's go. Ooh, I love how she sounds. Alright, so left pedal. Keep her going straight down the runway. There's 60 knots. We're going to rotate gently, and off we go. Center the pedals. And we're going to pitch for 80. You can see it's a bit of a crosswind as well. Pitching for 80. At least trying to. turbulence. So before we reach that hill over there, we're going to make a right turn. Join that traffic pattern. Make sure the engine instrument is still in the green. Sort of just before this roadway here. Continue turning to face the downwind, and it kind of intersects with the roadway where two roads intersect. So I think it's going to be over there somewhere. 1,000 feet to go. We're now officially downwind. We're going to stop our climb here because the cloud layer is quite low. Basically continue until we're at 45 degrees from that threshold, and then we can turn out to the northwest. Consider ourselves right on that visual track out. Very turbulent. Alright, optical checks, the landing taxis can come off, strobes and beacon stay on, gear stays out, the flaps are already up, fuel pump can come off, and yeah, we're looking for a heading of about 316 or 320. That should kind of get us to where we need to be. Fairly strong winds up here today. All right, let's go outside. Beautifully modeled aircraft. Okay, so the VRP is actually, if I look on the chart, it's sort of where the airspace takes a bend. So that's where the VRP is. We're going to continue turning left. Clearly we're being pushed from a wind coming from the left. Pushed by a wind coming from the left. English, yo. I'm not picking up the VORs, but oh wait, there we go. On the GPS mode. said northwest, right? Still northwest of the airport, so. I reckon it's gonna be really bumpy over these hills. Alright, so here is about where we would be telling the tower that we're leaving his airspace. It's her airspace. I don't quite see what could be considered a landmark obvious enough to tell a pilot to aim for. Man, who remembers the days when having transparent, windows on your aircraft flight model was actually like a special thing. Okay, enough trying to be entertaining. And clearly I am not. Instead, let's focus on the flight and getting ourselves to our destination in one piece. So it doesn't look like the weather can actually be too much of a problem. I wanted to fly here in the morning, but it was like completely IMC. We had like an overcast layer at like 400 feet above the airport, so. But now it looks like a beautiful day for flying. Let's climb higher here, go up to our requested altitude of 2,500 feet. Our requested altitude, I just mean the altitude I put in my flight plan. Might turn out to be a little bit low for this journey. Let's see. That was not me. I think we hit an updraft. Start bringing the mixture back a little bit to gain more altitude. Coming up to 2,500 feet. I'm get about 80 to 90 knots. Gonna level off here. Yeah, I think for sure we have an updraft here because we're being pushed up much faster than we normally would. Oh, yeah, there it goes away. So now the nose drops. Power back a little bit here. Try to get ourselves back down to 2,500 feet. Up. Already intercepted our course here, so we'll just turn back to 300. I think the wind will push us back on to our course. Leveling out. Let's get the autopilot to help us out here, if it can, in this turbulence. And we will maintain this heading for now, until we get a little bit more in line with our course there. Engines, but still looking good. 2,500 RPM is fine for our cruise here. We've got an EGT gauge, so we can try and lean out the mixture here. We'll go rich of peak. But let's first find out where peak is. Looks like it could be already where the needle is there. Yeah. A little bit more. Actually making me dizzy. Pretty much was peak, so we'll go rich of peak here by about a couple of units, I think. So right about there should be fine. Temperature 11 degrees Celsius. I don't think it's cold enough for us to worry about the pitot heat, so we'll keep the pitot heat off. Everything else is looking dandy. Actually have put our flight plan into the GPS just for some more situational awareness here. So EN. For those who haven't noticed yet, I prefer not to use the GPS as a primary means of navigation where I can help it. Instead, it's more like or I see it more as a backup form of navigation to help me, or at least allow me to cheat and check the answers of my navigation exercise. As you can see, we're pretty much on course, just a little bit to the left, but like I said, I'm pretty sure we've got a wind coming from the left, so we'll likely be pushed onto this course. As you can see, this needle is becoming more and more centered as I speak, so let's go ahead and hit the nav button. And the autopilot should keep us on course, regardless of the wind, or despite the wind. Halfway to our destination. There's a bit of a corridor that I want to find to make it a bit easier to get over these hills. Start by aiming for this lake. Excuse me. Had a late night last night. Beautiful. I'm actually hoping to go on holiday here one day. Soon, next year maybe. Not here specifically. Still kind of deciding where exactly in Norway I'd like to go, but what better way to kind of explore or pre-explore your holiday destination than to go flying there in Flight Simulator, at least Microsoft Flight Simulator. Right, so somewhere at my 11 o'clock, according to the chart, there should be a little bit of a corridor for me to, I think it might be sort of this little valley here that we can snake our way through without having to climb much higher than we are. Climbing higher shouldn't be an issue. Apart from the fact that I just filed a very low altitude of 2,500 feet. So I'm going to try and respect that. Until I absolutely can't. Like a seaplane out here. Might be worth mentioning that the WBSIM product also includes the seaplane variant of the Cessna. Which may have been a more fun idea. I'm not seeing this for today's flight. I'm not seeing, I think it might be here. It might be this. I think we can shimmy between these two hills. Basically follow this valley and river around out to the west again. But yeah, I anticipate it's going to be very turbulent here because the wind will probably be swirling around in this valley. We might be better off climbing. We're far enough from the yellow that we don't have to worry about speeding the aircraft in turbulent conditions. Alright, so I'm going to turn off the autopilot and manually control the aircraft just because because I think the autopilot might struggle here a little. Try and stay in the middle. Tree. Some beautiful lakes here. And there should be a corridor out there. We're gonna allow ourselves to climb a little bit higher, just because. Couple of lakes in front of us, and we should see a very big lake off into the distance, which if we follow northwesterly should take us straight to our destination. Technically in controlled airspace right now. Our destination airport control zone has already started. It goes right up to 4,500 feet. Right, so I'm just seeing a whole bunch of mountains still. No big lake. Okay, I think the autopilot should be able to manage itself again, so go back to turning it on. Big lake we're looking for. Just turn more westbound here. Should take us straight to the lake. As per our GPS, I think the lake's maybe behind this hill here. Feel some bumps as we fly over this ridge here. Ah, not only is it the lake, that is our destination right there. This, to my knowledge, is not a main airport or one that is frequented a lot, so I'm not going to bother. Or can I pronounce the name? Let's start our descent here. Toad and not to the we're 3 miles east. Noted in traffic, says Lima November Mike Oscar Victor is 3 miles east of the field, descending through 2,800 feet to land. Noted in traffic. According to Navigraph, the winds are favoring runway 30, so that's the runway we're facing right now. We're going to overfly the airport, come back and land on runway 30. There's actually a bug flying around here. It's a really unique airport in the sense that, you know, it's got a road, much like Gibraltar does. It has a road running straight across the runway, making a lot of this runway actually unusable. I don't know how it actually works in real life, because we've got sort of this extra bit here with runway markings on it, as if to say that you can't land here if you wanted to. Maybe they're able to close it, I'm not sure, but we're gonna land. Or make sure that we stop before we reach the road. Let's disconnect the autopilot, we're getting low enough here. Too low maybe. Mixture is fully rich again. We're gonna start our turn. Maintain about 90 to 100 knots here, and get a little bit more altitude. It's been probably over a year since I've landed at this airport, so can't quite remember how to do this approach due to all of these mountains and whatnot. We'll just stick relatively low and close to the airport. So there we go, about 80 knots, gonna bring down 10 degrees of flaps. Try and maintain between that and 70 knots. Can't really extend our downwind as far as we normally would, because that hill in front of us, so let's go ahead and configure ourselves for base, or for an early base leg here. Down to 70, bringing flaps 20 down. continue our descent. Alright, there's 65-ish, so we're going to bring full flaps down here. Oops, I think we did downdraft, so we got to watch out for that. We also don't want to overspeed our flaps here. No, I think we're good. In terms of height, make sure no one's coming or going. To the traffic says the Lima November Mike Oscar Victor turning short final runway 30. Not in the traffic. Okay, gear down, flaps down, lights are loose, should be the fuel pump, come on. Go around, we're just gonna climb out straight. Reconfigure and aim for the left pattern again, left circuit. Coming in a bit too high. Oops. Flared a little too early there. We're gonna stall it out here. There we go, we're down. Turn that fuel pump off because it's annoying. We'll leave the aircraft configured the way it is until we vacate the runway. Lean out the mixture a bit. We are almost at sea level. I think we will go over there. Short taxi, so we're just going to bring ourselves to a stop. Clean ourselves up before we continue. Alright, no one else is talking, so I'm not going to bother shouting on the radio that we are clear of everything. So, flaps coming up, reset the trim, turn off all the bright lights. Transponder is off or on standby. I think that's it. Fuel pump is off. Let's go. We'll try to put ourselves next to that other citizen over there. Beautiful little airport. Brakes on, and avionics are off. Cut the fuel. Beacon off. Magnetos off, and power off. Right, thanks again to anyone that might have joined me for this stream. Apologize for my mind being a little bit all over the place today. Still struggling with these sinuses. Makes it a little bit hard to think in addition to breathing out of my nose, so apologies for that. Anyways, nice little VFR flight through the south of Norway in this picturesque little town. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope to catch you in the next one.